My name is Juliana Nykolaiszyn with the Oklahoma State University Library. Today is Tuesday, January 3rd, 2012, and I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma, interviewing Chloe Brown. This interview is being conducted as part of the Oklahoma Women's Hall of Fame Oral History Project. Chloe Brown was inducted into the Oklahoma Women's Hall of Fame in 2011. Thank you for joining us today.
It's a privilege to be here. I feel real honored to be able to interview today, so I'm excited about sharing.
Well, let's begin by learning a little bit more about you. Could you tell us where you grew up and give us a little background into your early life?
I absolutely can. I am an Oklahoma girl, born and raised right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and had an experience of living on Greenwood Street. That's phenomenal to look back now and see how changes have taken place with Greenwood, but I went to Tulsa Public Schools. So I've been here mostly all my childhood life and adult life. I love Oklahoma.
Well, let's go back to those early school memories. What was your first school?
My first school was John Burroughs Elementary School, and it was located on North Cincinnati. And my early memories of everything was right in the community and in the neighborhood. We had a principal who we absolutely loved and adored. Our teachers were hands-on, community-wise, and everything was like a family. And you know, we hear now that it takes a village to raise a child. They really implemented that.
And that first school, was at your elementary school?
My elementary school, yes, John Burroughs. We were the first class to integrate John Burroughs also, and so that was a milestone to, work with other cultures and work with other different students. But I had a wonderful life, and I often say that we were poor, but we didn't know we were poor. I can remember times that, my mom did housework, and she would always come home with either an apple or some type of fruit, but it was a precious memory to sit on the curb. It was safe to do that then, to wait for her to get off of the bus. She always had something for us to give us, but not only just the fruit, but it was always some words of inspiration and encouragement. She wanted a better life for her children, and she often spoke of that, that we could dare or dream to do and be anything, even though during that time it was pretty limited. But with our mom, the sky was the limit, and the things that she inspired us with. Even though she was doing housework, our home was clean, our home was loving. I came from a family where my father was in the home, and my mom, and they taught us values and principles that have been lifelong things that I've implemented in my own life and in my own with my own children. And so I had said earlier, we were poor, but we didn't realize we were poor because we were happy, and just the little things meant so much. The times where we would eat together, we would pray together, eat together. My father was a minister, and so there was just wonderful memories of family and times of sharing and times of hands-on with our parents. So I will always cherish those memories of my parents and the things they instilled in all of us. There were 6 children in the home, and we all have wonderful experiences of what it was like being a child, even in the North Tulsa area and community.
Were your parents from Oklahoma?
My parents were from Pawnee, Oklahoma, so yes, we are Oklahoma. I always say my favorite classic is The Wizard of Oz, and as I got older, I said Dorothy had the right saying when she said there's no place like home, but she had the wrong state because it should have been Oklahoma because home is in Oklahoma. So I often laugh about there is no place like home. I have lived in Texas at one time, but always came back to Oklahoma.
And what brought your family to Tulsa?
Well, I think a better opportunity for my father in ministry, and also, being able to work. He was a minister who worked. He did his ministry, but he also worked. And that was just, wonderful to see him, balance both things, family, ministry, and work.
So 6 kids, where are you in the order?
Wow, let's see, I am the middle child. Kind of spoiled though, when the other 2 younger siblings came along, it was kind of hard to give up that place, that position of being the baby, because I had been the baby for a little while. And so when the 2 younger ones came on the scene, it was quite difficult, but my mom had a way of, and my dad, of letting us all know that we were important, we were special, and we all had our place. And so I was kind of spoiled, didn't want to give up that place, but eventually I did, and I feel so honored that I was the first out of my siblings to go to college. And that was quite an honor. I mean, it was really an honor to be able to go, to a higher, to get a higher education. And so my younger siblings followed me, after I went to college. They also knew that nothing was impossible for them and they could go also. My oldest sister, let me retrace that. I was the one who finished college. My oldest sister started and then got married, but I was determined to go and get my degree, and it happened. So my parents were so proud, and I was proud also, because I was the first to complete a degree in college.
Well, growing up, you're young, you're running around North Tulsa, and everybody has their eye on you, because I'm sure it's a tight, close community.
Absolutely.
And it's probably hard to get into trouble.
Absolutely. It's very hard. That was during the time that your neighbor could spank you, and you would get another spanking when you got home. And it was where they just worked together. The neighbors would say, now your mom and dad would not want you doing that. And you knew that if you were in trouble somewhere, someone would see it and they would correct you. And so those were precious memories too, that we had neighbors who took it upon themselves to instruct you the right way, and to say that, you know better, or you have not been raised to do that or say that. So that was quite fun. I got in trouble a lot. I really did.
No, you didn't.
Oh, I did. Said PK's kid, I was that.
Well, what would you do for fun growing up?
Wow, what did we do for fun growing up? Now, I'm from a pretty strict Pentecostal background, so our fun back then, I'm trying to think, what did we do for fun? Because everything was pretty limited, you couldn't do this and couldn't do that. So I used to like to play tetherball. I don't know if that's an old term, and I was really good at it, and I like sports. And during the time coming up, we did a lot of playing with marbles. I was a tomboy. I like, like I mentioned, the tetherball, the marbles, and I like paper dolls. We couldn't afford the real nice paper dolls that you would get at TGNY and Crescent. I'm going way back. Those stores are non-existent now. So we would cut paper dolls out of the newspaper. I think her neighbor had the paper, and she would let us have that section. So my sister and I would cut paper dolls out of the newspaper, and then sometime we would get an old magazine, and we would cut people out of the magazines, and we would make up stories and scenes. And I can remember also we would see the Miss America pageant, and we would pretend that we were, our paper dolls were being Miss America, or just, wonderful memories of that, just interacting with my sister and a little friend with our little paper dolls that were actually not the pretty ones that are in color and the Barbies and all of that, but little things that we could get out of the newspaper and the magazine. But we were quite happy.
And how many days a week would you find yourself in church?
Wow. Probably 4 times a week, because we would have service in our home. We would go to church, and we would have prayer and church services right, in our home, and people would come there. And so really a lot. And I can remember saying things like, it doesn't take all of this, and wow, But, you grow up and you realize that good moral values, and just they would come and sing and share. And so I am so glad that I have that a part of my culture. Wouldn't give it up for nothing.
So service was in your home.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How big of a congregation?
Well, it would be really small. You know, it wasn't a really big congregation, you know, during the week especially. I would say maybe 7 to 8 people. And it's so funny. I can laugh and think of the memories of this. They would play tambourines, but they would also play on pots. I mean, I don't know if any, I mean, I'm going way back. They would, you know, they would just praise God with anything that they could find. And so I have lots of memories of that, just singing and clapping your hands and, you know, laughing and praising God. And so those are the memories that I'll always cherish and look back on. I know it probably sounds real funny, pots, but yes, they would actually, you know, use several pots to make, you know, tones and beats, and it was enjoyable.
What was the name of the congregation? Did it have a name?
The name of the church that we went to was called Mason Temple Church of God in Christ. But my dad, you know, as an evangelist, he didn't really have, you know, a particular name of the church. You know, if anything, the household of holiness, if anything. But it's so funny, and I'm thinking of my brother. You know, everybody. I was middle, and so I thought it was just really cool and phenomenal. I want this. But my brother and older sister, they just like, oh my gosh, it wasn't cool to them at all. They wanted no parts, you know. So those are some fun times.
Well, moving back to school, was there a subject that you tended to gravitate toward?
You know, it really was. I really enjoyed poetry, and I also enjoyed speech and acting. But I never went into that, you know, but I like plays, and you know, I just like things like that where you would have to recite things. And I can remember a teacher who was so inspirational and inspiring in my life, because I didn't have a very good self-concept. I felt like I was, you know, too tall and didn't have the right, you know, look. And she said to me one day, you know, you can be anything you want to be. Stand up tall, stand up straight, aim for the moon, you'll fall among the stars. And that's when I decided I wanted to be an educator, because she made me feel so good inside. When I would, you know, come to her classroom, it was like everybody's accepted, everybody is important, everybody is somebody. And I said, you know, one day I'm going to be a teacher, and I'm going to be a drum major for those kids who feel low self-esteem and who feel like they don't measure up, or they're not good enough, and they're from the wrong side of the track, or they don't have what it takes, you know. And so I remember her, she had me in lots of little plays and writing poetry, and so I really liked that. And also I like PE, I like gym. It was pretty cool.
Well, it's great how those early memories can really help
yes.
shape.
Absolutely, absolutely. I wouldn't trade my upbringing for anything. It really gave me a solid foundation about, you know, character and about great expectations as an individual, as a human being. And I don't know, you know, I never thought about prejudice, or none of that never entered my mind or my thoughts. I just thought people were people. And, you know, we were all placed on this earth for a purpose. And so, I don't know, I just happy, like I said, we were very poor and didn't realize it, you know, until I look back now and I can realize the things that really were taking place, but we were happy, very happy.
What was the junior high you attended?
I went to Carver, and it's here in Tulsa. Also, it's a Tulsa public school, and had nice memories of Carver.
And for high school?
High school, went to Booker T, Washington, and tried out for majorette and made it. It was a majorette, and so that was a funny experience. You know, like I said, coming from a strict background, you know, to be able to do that. My mom had a lot to do with that, with my dad traveling. I'm not even aware that he knew what was going on, you know, during that time. So I really don't know.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, I think it was a really good thing, because he had straight and narrow, but mom was a little more, kids need to experience playing ball and doing different things. And I also remember one time she let my oldest sister have a party, but it really wasn't, the kind of party that people have now. But Dad just didn't understand that, but Mom allowed, she said, these kids need to learn how to, socialize with other kids and enjoy their kids. And so he kind of let it happen. It was little simple things like cake and, hot dogs and maybe jumping around or something. So I remember that too, so.
Were they very supportive of your education?
Yes, they really were. My mom especially. My mom was kind of I guess she was just the heartbeat of everything. My dad was a little more, and he was a little more just one way, that it was one way, but Mom she knew that education was the key, and she knew that, reading and disciplining yourself to study was the answer and a way of, having a better life. She really did. Dad, he didn't, talk very much on education. He was more of the spiritual, which there's a balance, there's always a balance, but he was more of your spiritual aspect of things and getting your life, lined up with the things and the principles of what God had placed for man to do. But Mom, she knew that it was very important. School was real important. We went to school. We did not miss school, and so she was right on that, that education is the way. And
so how'd you get to Langston? Why Langston?
Well, Langston is a family tradition. I had an aunt who taught school, and they all went to Langston. Everybody in my family went to Langston, or they'll go to Langston. I have a nephew now. He's at Langston. So Langston has just been our family tradition that no matter what, you have to go to Langston. Now, one of my sisters went to OSU, but she came back to Langston. So, Langston is just it. You have to go to Langston if you're a part of our family.
Well, tell me about Langston back then.
Wow, back then, Langston, man, wow. Langston was just almost like the wilderness, really. I mean, really the wilderness. There's so many wonderful improvements now. But when I went to Langston, it was definitely like the wilderness. It was, the buildings that they have constructed now were definitely not there. You had Sanford Hall as far as stayed, and just the wilderness is the best way to describe it. We would say, if you can survive Langston, you can survive anywhere, and but it was a wonderful experience. I met some wonderful people there, and I was very focused. I was very focused. I paid my own way. I worked that summer, and I didn't go the first semester, but I went the second semester. I saved up money, and I worked, and when I got there, I was able to get work study. I mean, I always worked. It was just that ethics of you have to pay your way. You have to work. It's nothing is given to you. No free rides. And that's kind of from my dad too. That you have to work. And so Langston was a great experience for me, but it was kind of like the wilderness. I remember many hungry nights at Langston, and that was during the time when I said I didn't like Spam. I guess I'm going on off, but I was so hungry one night that Spam was pretty good. It's pretty good. So I have wonderful memories of Langston, but it was pretty in the wilderness, just
a lot different than Tulsa.
Yes, a lot different than Tulsa. Yes, a lot different. But I had a made-up mind, and I knew what I wanted. I knew, what my major was, and I was determined that I was going to graduate and make an impact on the life of people. Children, mainly. I love children.
But before you went to Langston, where did you work?
Okay, y'all, that's a neat thing to share. I worked at the Oklahoma Eagle, it's one of the first and only black newspapers in Oklahoma. I worked there. And then I got a promotion. I went from there to the Tulsa courthouse as a small claims adjuster. So I worked there at Tulsa County Small Claims, and then I went to school.
And then when you were at Langston, where was your work study?
My work study was within the physical education department with one of the coaches. I did a lot of filing and typing and work like that. So that's where I was.
You're studying, did you have any time for fun at Langston?
I did. Oh, I did. Now, I forgot to mention that it was a wilderness, but I'm telling you, they had some really, I wasn't like a party animal or anything like that, the drinking. I never did anything, like that. From the background of our home, there was just something that you didn't participate in because your parents just instilled in you that your body was a temple, your body, health and doing the right things with your body was very important. So I just kept that, all of my college life and adult life. So I wasn't in the party scene, but I would have fun like at football games and the, volleyball and basketball, things like that. And, I made my own fun. Just, things like that without the crazy party scene, but it was going on, but I didn't really get caught up in a lot of the party and drinking. And during that time, drugs was not on the scene real big, like it is. So, just didn't. And the people that, it was important too for me, the people that I connected with, the people that I associated with, their morals and what they were there for, So I really didn't have time to just get into a lot of mischief and parties and all of that because I knew how hard it was for my parents and for me also because I had to work. Mm-hmm. I had to work.
But your mind was on that goal.
Oh, she was.
And
absolutely.
You got your degree in what year?
I got my degree in 75.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're fresh out of Langston.
Yes.
You're ready to make an impact on the world?
Yes. Absolutely.
Where do you go?
Well, the first thing that I decided was, of course, I wanted to be an educator. I wanted to teach school. I had been inspired by the teacher who made me feel like you can aim for the moon and fall amongst the stars. And so my mind was set. I wasn't wavering. What am I going to do? I wanted to be an educator. And so what I did, I got with someone to help with, of course, a little resume and the outline of those things. And had my first interview, and I really prepared for it. I tell you, and I will never forget. It was with Dr. Joanne Bell, and I had my everything all set up and had some samples of some work that I had did at Langston in the education department. Some lesson plan templates and some little things that I had made up, and so I have all of that. And so when I went in, I was really prepared and really sold myself, that I could do an excellent job. And so I remember when I left out, the lady who I later on became a friend with said, after your interview, the lady walked out, Dr. Bell said, I don't need to interview anyone else. I have my candidate. And so my first year was at Cooper Elementary School with Dr. Joanne Bell, and it was really exciting, to have you always love that first class. Oh my goodness, so I can remember spending countless hours, at school and working, with other teachers and working with kids and parents and just loving it. Oh boy, I tell you, I did my first play there at Cooper with my students. We wrote and we directed a play, and I took pieces of it from The Wizard of Oz, which, I mentioned Dorothy earlier. I love that reading in that play, but I changed it, and I changed it to the positive word and the negative word. And I had it all changed, and the kids loved it. We worked on our scenery, we worked on our, little costumes with the help of some parents, and did my first play and invited parents, and it was a huge success. The kids were absolutely phenomenal with that play. So lots of great memories, my years as an educator. Love it. Love
What
it.
grade did you teach?
I had first grade, I've taught first, I've taught second, I've taught third, and I even did a middle school. Really got back to elementary school. But just love it. Love education, love being an educator. Never looked at, the money, because it's not there, but just loved it with a passion. I remember I mentioned that I moved to Texas and, they do the evaluations where they bring someone in from outside of your school and another person to evaluate you. And I remember one of the comments that the evaluator made. He said, "This woman has a passion for education. She loves what she does." And I do. I feel like I move and live and breathe when I see children, the light bulb come on that, hey, this is not so bad. Reading is not so bad after all. Math is not so bad after all. Those type things. And seeing a student who struggles and then see all of a sudden they're excited about, learning, and they have a passion to want to learn. So that's one of the teacher's best memories, seeing her students excel.
Well, you're at Cooper. What are some of the other schools?
Okay, I went from Cooper, I went to Elliott, and I was the first African-American teacher at Elliott. That was quite interesting my first year, loved it. I remember back to school night, parents very involved. I think I had 3 medical doctors' children in my class and maybe 2 attorneys. I mean, these were people before they sent their kids to Cashel Hall and Montecasino. Elliott was one of those schools in Tulsa that I had some of the best test scores and best parent participation and best teachers, best educators. So I was honored to be selected. I remember Miss Collier called me in and she said, there is an opening at Elliott and I want you there. I think you will be successful and also you will make this bridge that we're trying to cross be successful. And had a wonderful time at Elliott. It was so funny, my first year, they had so many questions for me about curriculum and, just really trying to see where I was. And the next year, they were writing letters to have their students in my classroom, knocking on the principal's door that because of, the hands-on things and the cutting-edge things that I would do with students, just not paper pencil all the time. I was doing brain body things and didn't know it at the time, didn't know that label, didn't know that small group instruction and one-on-one and children working as a community, to think their things through and that strength that you can have building a class community. And so really wonderful memories at Elliott. Then after Elliott, I moved to Texas, went to Dallas, Texas, and taught there for 3 years in North Dallas, and really loved that. Did plays again. I did a lot of plays because I realized that even with curriculum, how you can pull in with kids writing plays and acting out plays, and we did our math and all our other things, but there was a lot of strength and being able to write things and to role play and to act, so that was a really key component that I always had in my curriculum, to build around writing and, the reading and reciting and being able to project, and stand up before an audience and a crowd, and so real exciting. Then I came back to Tulsa, came back to Oklahoma.
And you're back in Oklahoma
I'm
at that
back
point?
in Oklahoma.
Where do you end up?
Where am I now?
Mm-hmm.
I'm back with Tulsa Public Schools. Have done some really crazy things, I tell you. You'll have people to say, she's so great as a teacher. She's phenomenal. I bet she'll be a great administrator. Let's see what we can do with her as a principal. And so I had gone back to school. I, got my reading degree, got a master's in reading, then went back and worked on a +30 in administration. and just took that dive into administration. Oh my goodness, my goodness. And wasn't very successful with it because I still had, it was just, I guess, the personality and my mindset and my thinking, and just didn't gel. But the great thing about it is when you can realize that you are a fish out of water, and what you were really called to and called for, I began to realize that I was called to teach. I was not called to be a principal. It sounded good, and a lot of my friends were going into administration, and yeah, I think I can do that. I can make a difference. But oh my, whoa, wow. So I'm back teaching. I'm back in my pond where I should be, and I love it. I'm making an impact on a life of children that cannot be erased. And I know it, I know it. It's like, different as night and day from administration to teaching. There are some people are wonderful in administration, bless their hearts, and they do an absolute phenomenal job. And you have to realize, as an educator, what they did, they took a absolutely wonderful educator, a teacher, and put in a position, and that happens so much. Someone says, oh, she's a great teacher, she'll be a great principal. But you move this person and you lose a great teacher, and you have them in a position where they really shouldn't be. So I have realized that teaching is where I should be, educating children for the 21st century.
So you're happy to be back in the classroom?
I am so happy to be back in the classroom. I really am. I did 3 assignments as an administrator. I did an assistant principal position, and I did an interim position. And the interim position was pretty good. I really liked that, but I tell you, it's a different world. It's a different world, I'm so glad to be back in the classroom where I was destined to be.
And what grade are you teaching?
I have 3rd grade.
3rd grade? Oh, at what school?
I'm at McClure Elementary School. Love it. Love it. I have some interesting little ones that come to me every day, and like I said, I'm making a mark that won't be erased in their life, and it's exciting. It's exciting that I can apply those same principles that I received. I'm old school. I'll tell some of the little boys that I have, I'm just old school. I tell you, but I'm glad I had the experience. Nothing teaches you better than experience. I'm glad I had the experience in administration. I learned a lot. I definitely learned that I was out of my place and should be back in the classroom. And I'm just glad to be back.
Well, then
as
you
an
just
educator.
check that off your list.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A big check. But you know what I think about so often is that when you realize, a lot of times people will be in a position or a spot, and it's not where they should be. And I don't know if it's pride. I don't know if it's, when I've been here so long, I might as well just ride it out or what. But when you can come to realize that this is not what I was created for. This is not my place. This is not my purpose. But this is where I should be. Not worrying about what are the people going to think, what are they going to say, oh, wow, I'm losing X amount of dollars. What does it really matter when you're not at peace, when you're not fulfilling your purpose? And that's where my dad comes in, letting us know that we were put here on this earth for a purpose.
Well, at some point you started a family.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Why don't you tell me about that?
I'll tell you about that. I met a wonderful man, Theo Brown. We've been married for 40 years. And we met in Tulsa. And I used to see him, and I would never be with my friends. And I would always tell them about this good-looking tall guy. And I don't think they believed me because they would never see him. And, I used to always, and I would always see him, and I would be by myself. And I would tell my friends, my girlfriends, oh, this guy, he's so handsome. And I'd go on and on and on, and so finally, he and I met. And a very nice guy, very respectful. And he had told me this, that he saw me years ago playing ball, and he said, that's going to be my wife. And so the rest is history. We have a wonderful family. We have 3 sons, and we have a daughter. And they've all gone to Langston. And so we've kept that tradition going. But my husband is very supportive. Just an excellent man. And, you know, we have really weathered the storms of life that most people do, but we're still standing, we're still together. We are funny now because we're up in age, you know, and stuff. And as I said, we just celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary, and I don't think he'd trade me for anything, and I certainly wouldn't trade him for anything. He's just really just a delightful man, and he's the love of my life.
Well, that's a long time to be married, 40
years.
years.
Yes, 40 years, yes.
Any secrets?
Not that I want to reveal. Yeah.
Fair enough. So you raised your family, you were teaching. You have quite an active life outside of school.
Absolutely.
And I'd like you to share a little bit
Absolutely.
with me.
Okay, I'd love to share on this. I'm going to reflect back on my mom again, the things that she instilled in us as we were coming up, you know, as far as your fellow man, serving, helping those that needed a helping hand. And I would drive down Denver, and I would see women who were homeless, and it would just, my heart would just go, where do they go at night? And I would be concerned that they were being abused or hurt, so I mean, every time I'd see a woman and I want to take her and help her, take her home, or, you know, just feed her or whatever. And so I started with a group of ladies at my church, reaching out to women who were incarcerated. And it was just a small thing at this time, you know, just going and sharing with them, you know, not even trying to find out why were they in prison, but just going and letting them know that there's still hope, you know, no matter what your situation is, where you are valuable. And so we kind of started with that message, and it was kind of funny. We started with letting them know that they were queens. And so it was so funny, we'd say, you know, you are still a queen, no matter where your throne is. You are a queen. It's what you think and how you see yourself and what you say about yourself. And so we started doing, you know, things, affirmations, you know, finding things that we could have in written form where they could make affirmations about themselves. And it was really strange. We would do things where they would take a mirror, and some of them would have a hard time looking in the mirror saying, I am somebody, I am, you know, because of their situation. But then as we worked with them, they began to just say positive things about their life. I will not always be in prison. I will have my children back. I will, you know, have a different mindset. And so one thing just led to another, where our group got bigger, where women really wanted to go out and visit the ladies that were in prison. And so my husband and I had real estate in North Tulsa, and we didn't know at the time what we wanted to do with it. And he and I had been told that we would do a ministry together. And sometimes when people hear that, they think, they get it all pretty, I won't say twisted, but they think ministry, you know, the 4 walls in the church and doing. But to us, my husband and I, ministry is outside the 4 walls. And so we had this house, and we were trying to decide what we wanted to do with the home. And it was during the time when the Katrina incident and situation happened. And we said, well, some of the people had come to Tulsa, and we said, well, maybe we can open up the house and, you know, help some of the families that have been misplaced. But that didn't gel, that didn't happen. And so what we decided we would do, we would get the house ready, and when women were released from prison, they could have a place to come until they could get on their feet and get their own apartments or get their lives back. And so that happened. I was traveling to Dallas, and I'm very, verbal and friendly, and I'll just strike up a conversation. And it so happened, my trip to Dallas, there were two ladies that were, they worked, they work with remodeling homes and sharp ladies. They do things on Brookside, and so we got to talking. But we started out our conversation with mentors for children. So I kind of have a twofold things. I want kids to have people to inspire them as mentors. And when she gave me her card, I saw that she was remodeling, and so I said, "Wow." I began to share my vision about the house and the women, and sure enough, they came to the home, we met, and one thing just led to the other. They began to send people to come and help lay the floor and just remodel and do the house. I mean, people came from all over Tulsa helping with getting this house ready for women that were incarcerated, needing a place to stay. People like Brad from Mathis Brothers said, once you get it, we'd like to donate furniture and Habitats for Humanities. I mean, it just, one word, it just opened up, and people began to come in and help. And we were able to open the home, and we've had 7 women totally that have come through the home until they could get on their feet. And so we were able to be a blessing to those women.
That's quite inspirational.
Yeah, I love it, I tell you.
You don't know what to do with it,
and then... And I mean, just out of, and another thing too, they did an article in the Oklahoma Women's Magazine. And when people read things, hey, what can we do? How can we find this lady? We want to be a part of, making a difference in the life of someone who just, ran upon hard times. And then, I began to do a lot of research about prison and women in Oklahoma. And it is really unbelievable how Oklahoma has the highest imprisonment rate for women. And then some of the things women are in prison for, the time that they are given in Oklahoma is just unbelievable. Mm-hmm. So just love the community, love just getting out. I will sometimes find myself just getting out, feeding people. I have Reese's grocery store. They have been such a blessing to me in my ministry as far as giving bakery goods and items like that. They have a missions department, and normally if I go by, and they are so helpful in giving me things, and I go out to the projects and encourage children to read, encourage children to giving out cookies and donuts, and stuff like that. I've been known to do that. And so just love it. It's a heartbeat for me to just get out and serve people, serve our community.
And you've done your fair share of tutoring after hours?
Oh, yes. I've done that too, absolutely. During summer hours, you just don't turn it off. You get out there. The Rudisill Library, I'm quite known for tutoring. I've also developed my own reading program called Totally Chloe, and it's a music component with little raps and little tongue twisters, and so I've developed that, and I go to Texas and different places and present to teachers and inspire them to just really give 100% in education.
At what point did you feel called to start a ministry?
I think it was during the time, you want years or just?
No, just
okay.
In general.
During the time when I would drive down Denver. Mm-hmm. And I remember my pastor saying things like, when you see something and you want to change or you feel a passion for it, maybe that's, what God is calling you to do. Mm-hmm. And I would see women and just want to, where are they going? Where do they live? Do they have a place? Which they didn't have a place. And I always wanted them to be saved and for them to feel loved. And you could see the hurt on many of their faces. And it would just, I just wanted to take them in. And I would always say this, that's somebody's child. Mm-hmm. That's somebody, she was a little girl, or he was a little boy, at that time. So I always would just feel something in my heart for the people there and wanted them to be taken care of. So I think that's when it first entered my heart and my mind. And then I, knowing my mom, after, something like that, you want to go and be educated in that area. So I went to school as far as the ministry, where I would know, the right things that you do and how you do. So I took the whole thing, hospital visits, nursing home, funeral home, all those type things, prison outreach. And so I graduated in that and became, ordained minister. So I'm quite busy.
It's kind of like teaching too.
Yes, absolutely.
It's right there.
Absolutely, it really is. It's a good combination, being an educator and being in ministry. It's the same, you're teaching, you're inspiring, you are, to teach is to be called out. You are wanting a better life. You want people to see that there is a sunrise, there is a rainbow, there is a better way. There is hope. Nothing is hopeless. You're not hopeless. There is a way. I know I'm probably sounding but what's wrong with being very optimistic? What's wrong with aiming for the moon? And what's wrong, with always being positive that it can work, it can happen? What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Well, we learn the background we need for our careers in many different places, not always in school, but sometimes. Where are some of the places that you feel you've learned the background for your career?
Well, definitely I have to say church. Definitely have to say that. And then home, in my home, with my parents and everything and stuff, just definitely that, church and home, very strong. Even in our community now in the North Tulsa, all over, we're very strong in our churches. They say we're the Bible Belt, and so that's pretty true. So definitely just in our church, in our community.
Any stumbling blocks you faced along the way?
Oh, wow, yes. We all have some stumbling blocks, but there's a song that says, we fall down, but we get up. And that's the most important thing. It's not how you fall or when you fall, but what do you do after the fall? Mm-hmm. What do you do? Do you just lay down and it's all over, or do you get up? I mentioned about the administration. I mean, that was a hard hit. That was a hard fall. But do you just say, I failed? I'm a failure? That's not even in my vocabulary. Or do you say, hey, I tried it, didn't work, but this works better for me? And keep moving. Do you keep, what attitude do you have? Do you still have a smile on your face? I had a couple of principal friends who came by, I think it was back to school night, they were in the area and came by to see my classroom. And the great thing about that, I know what principals look for, and how, what should be in a classroom. And I just had, just smile and wonderful attitude and, just, hey, this is it for me and I wish you well. And so it's, when you have those stumbling blocks, what do you do? When you get a lemon, what do? Do you make lemonade with it, or do you, what do you say? We've all had stumbling blocks. What do you learn from it? What's the experience? How can you help someone else with what you stumbled on? Mm-hmm. How can you be that light, that torch, that bridge for someone who stumbled? We all stumble, all of us. But what do you do when you fall? What do you do when you skin your knees? Do you just lay there? Do you get up and dust yourself off and say, I can do it, I can make it, so I've had lots of stumbling blocks, I have. It hasn't always been roses. Mm-hmm. But again, from that background from my mom and my dad, you learn to be an overcomer. You learn to trust and say, hey, there's a bright side. or you learn to say, hey, I missed it. I thought that I could make a difference, or I thought that this would be a good turn in my life or my career, but it wasn't. And so I turned from that and turned another way and go forward.
Well, as a longtime educator, minister, community leader, looking back on what you've done so far, any highlights that you just really take to heart, that you really say, wow?
Well, being inducted into the Oklahoma Women's Hall of Fame, is that the right answer? I'm sure it is, is for a highlight. And I must say this, and my mom just passed in October, but she was with me during the induction, and that was the highlight. And what I did, I gave the award to my mom, and I was able to do that. You know, I thought as I had to make this little speech, and what would I say, and you know, what really came to my mind was my mom's mission statement. Even though she didn't know it was a mission statement, you know, we get all mission statements and da-da-da, but every organization, every ministry that I have connected with underlined my mom's mission statement. I've volunteered at Catholic charities. I've been at Day Springs where abused women, you know, I just have a heart for that, but I think about each of their mission statements: to serve, committed to serve, to, you know, that was my mom. That was her, you know, as I said, it wasn't a mission statement written up, typed up, but it was just what she would want us to do, to treat people the way you want to be treated. If you have a piece of bread and someone's hungry, share that bread with that person who's hungry. So that was the highlight. Accepting the recognition as Oklahoma Women's Hall of Fame, but looking out and seeing my mom. And some of the ladies from my church came too, and I realized that even though I'm being honored, there are so many people on the side of me, behind me, in front of me that made this all possible. Who would have dreamt a little girl from Greenwood would be receiving an honor of Oklahoma Women's Hall of Fame? It was just more than I could even imagine. But to actually have my mom out in the audience, and then to have her stand and say, Mom, you are the Oklahoma Hall of Famer, and I received this in your honor. And that was another thing that we were taught. I said honor. And this is the 2012 year, and Exodus 20 and 12 says, honor your mother and father. And not just honor your mother and father, but honor your word. Honor people, hurting people, people that honor, you know, and we have gotten away from that. And so when I received that honor, I knew that it just wasn't Chloe Brown, but it was all of the women that were incarcerated, all of the women who walked the streets in Tulsa, all of the women who trusted me as a friend and their mentor in this ministry to follow me, you know, to say, we want to do this, we want to make a difference in the life. So the honor was for all of them.
Do you remember who presented you at the ceremony?
I do. I absolutely do. It was my daughter. And what an honor to have, you know, your daughter see the work that her mom is doing, and to have that legacy that, hey, my mom is a woman who loves the community, who, first of all, my mom is a woman who loves God. Because if you don't love him, how can you love your fellow man? So that's the key thing. And to have my daughter, and her little speech was so precious. Out of all the things that were said, the words that she said were more valuable because they came from someone who sees you behind the scene. You know, it's like we all have a face. You know, we have our face that we wear at church, we have our face at work, we have, but for your children to see you at home, behind the scene, and know that that's the same mom that I see at church, I see in the marketplace, that's more valuable than anything.
You kind of touched upon this, but what does this type of honor mean to you?
Wow, let's see. You know, it's nice to, somebody said it's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. It's nice that someone would recognize what you're doing. You know, you don't wave up, bend, you know, you don't get on top of the mountain and shout, I'm doing this, I feel, you know. But when someone else sees what you're doing from your heart, because what comes from the heart, I mean, really comes from the heart, it reaches the heart. You don't have to wave a flag or shoot up a flare, you know, just do it from your heart. So this was really nice that somebody said, hey, here's a woman after God's own heart. Here's a woman after the heart of the community. Here's a woman that gives 100%. You know, getting out there, you know, on the streets and the prison, that takes time. You know, even your words saying, you know, you can, you know, do this, think this way. You know, that takes a lot of energy. It does, and time. And some mornings, when I would pick up the food and the things, it would be cold. And then the mornings I would go out sometime, it would be cold. But I always thought that somebody's hungry. Somebody needs this. And I strategically plan it right when I know that they're low on their food stamps or don't have them at all. And I have certain places that I go and take the food and things to. And just the women that are incarcerated, you know, just having someone to come and visit. Having someone, will you write a letter for me? I've been asked so many times to write letters. And I've encountered those that can't read, and just to be a resource to help, you know, so very exciting. And that somebody would say, hey, this is the Oklahoma spirit. This is what Oklahoma's all about. Okay, Homa.
Well, I mean, I think this question comes up a lot because you are a teacher and you have direct impact, direct contact with students.
Yes, love it.
Every day.
Every day.
You know, I think I asked this question of all of our Hall of Famers, and they may not have such a direct impact on people such as you do through your years teaching. So how do you feel that students and people in the community and people that you see, that you interact with through your outreach efforts, look at you as a role model?
Wow. That, you know, when you hear role model, and I'm always so happy to hear when children are asked that and they say their parents or they say the teacher. They don't say, you know, Michael Jordan or LeBron James, but they'll say, my dad, my mom, my teacher. Oh, what an impact that teachers make on the lives of children. You know, it's like, I want to be like my teacher. You know, I want to, you know, those type things are so heartfelt that you can be a role model for students, and they, you know, you can make a difference, you know, in their lives. And so I think when people see Mrs. Brown, and sometimes they'll say Miss Chloe Brown, you know, not my direct students, but just the ladies that I go with, or they'll say Queen Chloe, you know, and just to have someone say that I want to be, I know I can't be you, but just the way you say things and the way I feel you love me or you care, and they don't just come out and say, you know, you're my role model, but you know, that's where they're going, you know, what they are saying. And so, especially the little girls, I always, when I'm in my classroom, I want to make sure my presentation is everything. I want to make sure, you know, I'm presentable, even with what I have on, you know, it's just a standard that I present myself that way to the kids, to the students that are in my room, the things that I say and how I say it. I've always learned this, that the volume of your voice, how you speak and how your tone. And in my career, I've been at this for 40 years, I can honestly sit here and say, I've never yelled at a student. I took this as the frame, being large in size, when I talk to them even in a corrective way, I'll use sort of a really low whispered voice, and they're like, especially the kids now, they're like, and the other kids are looking to see, what is she gonna say, but it's always direct, focused eyes, and, very quiet in what I'm saying, and make them think about their thinking, from the simplest thing, so I just want to definitely be a role model, for my students. I want, when they leave my room, and I always tell them this is the funniest thing, I'll say, do you know they put the smartest kids in my class, and you'll never have a teacher as brilliant, as loving as Mrs. Brown. And so that is always so funny. They're like, they put the smartest kids in her room. She's a brilliant teacher. So I enjoy it. I have so much fun with my students. I really do.
Well, you have been going at this for a while. You ever hear back from former students?
I do. I'm glad you asked me that. I do. I just celebrated my 60th birthday. And there's a student, I have kept up with 3 of my former students throughout they were with me for 2nd grade, and now they're graduating from college and getting ready. Well, one has graduated. He's getting ready to take the bar exam, Bradley Brown. We are so close. He came to my 60th birthday, and I had a letter. I keep everything. Teachers, we just keep everything. And I knew he was coming, and so I found a letter that he had written to me. And at my 60th birthday party, I read the letter. He came, he's such a handsome young man. He's going to be an attorney. He's finishing up, Bradley Brown, and he's getting married. And so he sent me an invitation, and so it's like, Brad, is she, so we keep in touch. And then Andy Hartman, who's an attorney here, Sally Hartman, his daughter, so I keep in touch with them. I'll see them at the marketplace somewhere, and they'll, Mrs. Brown, you still look the same, you haven't changed. And one of my things Bradley shared with my party guests, I always had things that would say, welcome to success. I'll see you at the top. And he said to my guests, he said, the first thing, he said, I'll never forget what you said to me, Mrs. Brown. You said, welcome to success. And he said, out of all my teachers, I always remember that was the first words that came out of your mouth, welcome to success. And so at my birthday party, he said, Mrs. Brown, welcome to success. Yes, so you'll be hearing about Bradley Brown. He's getting ready to be a wonderful attorney. So, oh yes.
That's great.
Yes. And let me share this. I was at church 2 weeks ago, and one of my former students, you've heard about Bradley, one of my former students, a little girl, and you just give where you want your kids in your classroom to achieve and do their best. She came, she had saw me in the newspaper. She had read an article about my outreach for women in prison, and she saw that, and she wanted to get in touch with me because she had gone to prison. So last Sunday, 2 weeks ago, she came to my church, and I was at the door, and as she was leaving out, she came up to me. She said, Mrs. Brown. And I looked, you have so many that you forget. And she told me who she was, and we began to talk. I took her alongside and we sat down, and she shared with me, what had gone on in her life. She said, if I had only listened to you, you were my first introduction to doing the right thing. And so I'm going to be mentoring her. She wants to go with me, go back to the prison. She's been in prison twice. She's out now. And so I want to mentor her. I want to help her. She's got 4 boys. And that's going to be my goal, that I work with her. We helped her during the Christmas holiday break. And I'm just looking forward to taking her with me into the system so she can share firsthand about her experience. So you have those that are successful, then you have those that had some bumps in the road. But I believe with all my heart that she's back with me for a reason. So we're going to see what we can do together.
Well, I'm glad you brought up mentoring, because you've mentioned it several times
Yes.
during our interview today. Could you talk a little bit about the importance of mentoring?
Absolutely, absolutely. Many children in this 21st century, today's children, are from single parent homes and working homes, moms who work. And even if it's homes where there's a dad and a mom, sometimes the dads are so busy. So I feel that to get a mentor and a student together is just a vital experience for those children. I mean, sometimes even just having someone who'll come and listen to them read or read with them or come and have lunch with them. Just someone that can be that extra person in their life that really inspires them that they can, achieve anything, do anything, and spend that time with them. See, that's the quality, that time. Children are looking for someone to just listen to them, to spend that time with them. So mentoring, I think, is a vital part of a child's life, whether they're from a single home or if there are two parents in the home, that to have someone. We at McClure, we have an excellent mentor program that's been very successful. You want to match up children and mentors together and have a successful, a safe, situation.
We were just finishing up on mentoring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just think it's a really great thing to have that program, in place, and I really think it's vital for middle school students to have, a mentor. And if you can get a really good mentor program in our middle schools, I think that would really help with a lot of gang violence, a lot of drugs. I've heard young men come back and give their testimonies that they were from a single household, but their mentor, what a difference the mentor made. And Father's Day, that's who they send the Father's Day card to. That's who they call, is that mentor. And I mean, they just light up. The little guy that's in my room, the little boy that has a mentor, he comes on Friday. And I'm telling you, when that mentor steps in the door, that child just lights up. It just makes a difference in his little life, that someone would come and he can go and just talk with or play a game with or read with, just someone that can be inspirational and be instrumental in their lives. I tell you, our mentor programs are wonderful, and I'm just so grateful that people would take the time to be a mentor. I salute them. They are so vital. They are the heartbeat in our school system.
Well, you spoke a lot about your parents, but would you like to make mention of anybody who's played an important role in your life?
I would. I'd like to make mention of one of my teachers, one of the educators in my life, Joanne Guilford, and she's still in my life. She is such an inspiration and such a funny person. We have laughed about me being in administration. She was a former principal. And so she knows all the funny things that can take place. But just a wonderful role model. She just loves children and such a good reading specialist. And I'm telling you, she will correct you. Sometimes she and I'm doing better. She's the type, when we were coming up, I mean, if you were splitting a verb or saying something wrong, you'd get an English lesson right there. She wouldn't let you slide with anything. So she would help me with writing assignments and speaking, and sometimes we'd be talking, and all of a sudden she said, "Nope, you're not to say that. This is how you say it," So, you get where you're like, okay, do I carry on a conversation or do I just sit here silently? So yes, Joanne Guilford, she is still working with children. Right now she is teaching reading to Hispanic adults. And so she loves what she does. She is almost 80 years old now. Yes, still working in the school as a volunteer and a mentor. So yes, Joanne Guilford.
If you could give advice to your fellow Oklahomans, what would you tell them?
Wow. Let's see. always be true to yourself and true to others. Love yourself, love others. Work hard, because working hard always pays off. Be true to your word, be fair, be a good listener, be compassionate. Always go the extra mile. Never give up. Always believe in yourself. Believe in others. Be very thoughtful of what you say and how you say it about yourself. Because sometimes we say things about ourselves, the negative things, about ourselves. So I would just say, be mindful of what you say and what you do and how you do it. And take time. Take time for yourself. Look who's talking. I'm talking to myself, because we can get so busy that we forget to stop and smell the flowers. So take time for yourself. Be true to yourself. Be true to others. Every day you wake up, say today is going to be a great day. It's going to be the best day ever. And make it happen.
Any words of wisdom for people who'd like to follow in your footsteps?
Wow, let's see, definitely yes. One thing I'd like to say is acknowledge God in all your ways. Put him first place. Trust him. Depend on him. And just follow his lead and his direction. And again, just treat people the way you want to be treated. And let love always be your guiding vehicle.
We kind of started out the interview talking about Oklahoma. I can tell you're very passionate about the state.
Absolutely.
What does Oklahoma mean to you?
Well, Oklahoma, as I said earlier, it's just the foundation of my whole being, because it's all I know. It's all I know. It's Oklahoma. Whoever in the word Oklahoma is home. It's home. It's okay. It's an okay place to live. And I love Oklahoma. As I had said earlier, I lived in Texas for 3 years, but I found myself coming back to the land of Oklahoma, where I just feel, opportunities have been great here for me. And I can remember one of my sons saying, makes no difference where you go. It's the best state I know. Oklahoma, Oklahoma, you're okay.
What's next on the agenda?
Well, next on the agenda is raising my grandchildren. We didn't talk about our grandchildren. And I saw a bumper sticker that said, if I would have known grandchildren were this great, I would have had them first. So probably just visiting and loving on those little grandchildren. I have one, his name is Jordan. He attends Tulsa schools, and I have Brooklyn. And just enjoying them. And then I have others that, we've adopted along the way. And just taking some time, my husband and I, enjoying our grandchildren.
No plans to retire anytime soon?
Well, I'm up for retirement this coming December. But I'm enjoying the ride till I'm just trying to decide whether I want to just stay in a little longer or if I want to retire. Why do they call it retire? And just kind of see, what directions I'll take and where the next adventure of Chloe Brown's life will lead. I know I'll be somewhere doing something that will enhance the life of Oklahoma.
And I take it family is still very important in your life today.
Yes, absolutely. Family is very important in our lives. Just to see, our children grow up and have their own individual lives. The 3 sons are all married, and my daughter is still single. But they know the value of family, and they know the value of your place in the family, and their father being honored, and their mother loving the community and doing work in the community that is valuable, that has purpose. We can get busy doing a lot of things and neglect our family, but it's so important that your family realize that their place with you is always first place. And sometimes I wonder, where do I get the time and the energy to do all the things that I do, but I know that it comes from above. And it comes from the honor, again, that I mentioned earlier. The honor that you have for God first, then your family, and then your church and your community. So I love my family, and just like the closeness, really a close family. I have twin sons, and they are really close. We say they have their own little signals that they do when they want to communicate with one another where no one else knows. So just closeness with the family is a goal too that I want to continue to have. Family is so important. They're always there when you need them.
Well, we've kind of taken a whirlwind tour through most of your life.
Yeah, I agree.
Is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't spoken about today?
Not really. I think we've covered, quite a bit, with career and family and just the love for God and the love of service. And I think we've covered quite a bit, and the funny part of being a principal and running back to the classroom, and so quite a bit. But I do want to say to the other ladies who have received this honor, I wish them Godspeed, and each of them I said at the ceremony, and I listened to all the things that they had accomplished and the things that they too had imparted to their communities, and I was at awe, that wow, women in Oklahoma are doing so many wonderful things for our cities and for our state. And so just to have the honor of being surrounded with so many women of character and excellence, and I had an opportunity to visit with many of them, and they were so focused on their mission and what they were born to do and born to give back to our state. So I just salute the commission and just the things that women are doing. We are just so vital to our state and to the world.
Well, you join a very impressive group of women.
Absolutely. I tell you, each of them in their own way were just women of character and women of vision. And it was just, I actually, when we first met, I actually sat back and said, how in the world did I get even near this? This is absolutely astonishing, to see the work that these women have given their lives to do. It's just mind-boggling. It is absolutely phenomenal, the work that many of the women in Oklahoma are doing and will do.
Well, one last question for you before we end. When history is written about you, what would you like for it to say?
Wow. I would like for it to say, this woman loved God and she loved her fellow men.
Chloe Brown, thank you for joining us today.
It's been my pleasure, it really has. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to share from my heart. Thank you.
Thank you.